Hello everyone, my name is Samer Abu Surdana. In this class we will cover Q Skills for Success Level 4, the reading section, Unit 3, what important lessons do we learn as children? Now some questions to consider before moving to the reading. What are some significant memories from your childhood? Possible answers, for example, I remember my first day of school. I was scared and excited at the same time. 2. What are some things that parents, their children disagree about? Answer. Parents and their children sometimes disagree about what the child should eat or wear, for example. 3. Look at the photo. How do you think the children feel? What important lesson will they learn? Now we can look at the photo. Two children are fighting over a toy. So the child on the left looks happy because he is about to get the toy. The child on the right is struggling. I think that the children will learn how to share. So the lesson here is how to share. Moving on. Now the new vocabulary in this lesson, reading 1, the good teen. We have accurately, assumption, colleague, competence, consistent with, equipped with, extracurricular, innate, nature, period, select, and theoretically. We will learn the vocabulary after the reading in the vocabulary exercise. Now starting with the reading, the good teen. Eliza Parks is a high school senior. She gets good grades, is president of the senior class, and writes for the school newspaper. As a junior, she received her school's top prizes in English and history and was selected to represent the school at a statewide speech contest. Not surprisingly, Eliza has been accepted at Yale University next year, where she has been awarded a scholarship. Even with all her extracurricular activities and academic commitments, Eliza makes time to be with her brother and her parents. Whenever possible, they eat dinner as a family and often take trips together on weekends. Eliza also has a strong network of friends who her parents know well. I talk with my parents very freely about my friends, my life, whatever, she says. What is the secret to Eliza's happy adolescence? We often think of adolescence as a difficult period. The stereotypical teenager makes poor decisions, hangs out with the wrong friends, or takes dangerous risks. Many parents often dread or fear these years because they think their children will stop talking to them and refuse to follow their rules. However, recent research suggests that this common assumption about adolescence is often not true. Many teens not only survive these years, they thrive. Instead of rebelling, many adopt the values of their parents. Instead of getting into trouble, they learn to work hard. Instead of forming negative relationships, they look for good role models and find supportive friends. In particular, teens equipped with specific skills and qualities may be better at avoiding the dangers others experience. Dr. Richard Lerner, director of the Institute for Applied Research in Youth Development at Tufts University, agrees that most teens do not have a stormy adolescence. In order to discover how teens navigate these years happily and successfully, Lerner and his colleagues have conducted a long-range study of teens and their parents. This research, the 4H study of positive youth development, examines how young people interact with others. It pays close attention to the activities they are involved in. It also looks at the adults who guide and support these children. The study identifies 5 interconnected characteristics for positive development. In adolescents or teenagers, called the 5 C's: competence, confidence, connection, character, and caring. Researchers suggest that young people who have the 5 C's will also demonstrate a 6th C, contribution to self, family, community, and society. Teens with the 5 C's are more likely to become capable adults, and theoretically, young people about the 5 C's would be at higher risk for a variety of social and personal problems. How does Eliza fare in terms of these characteristics? She has social and academic skills which allow her to excel in school, which is competence. Perhaps because of her talents, she has a good feeling about herself and her abilities, which is confidence. She has positive bonds with family, friends, and people at school, which is connection, and a good sense of right and wrong, which is character. And finally, Eliza cares about other people, which is caring. Her qualities and experience reflect all 5 C's. At least in Eliza's case, having the 5 C's accurately predicts her success. But could it be that kids like Eliza are happier because they have fewer problems than others? That doesn't seem to be true. The 4-H study has found that teens from any background can thrive. It doesn't matter if they are rich or poor, from the city or country, living in a high crime area or low crime area. Anyone can do well with a little help. Researchers say that even adolescents with very serious problems can be successful if they are resilient. This means that even when they get knocked down by life, they can bounce back and recover quickly from the negative experience. So, how do teens develop the 5 C's and become more resilient? Learner study found that families, schools, and communities are key. Quality time spent with teachers, parents, mentors, or an effective out-of-school programs puts on a positive path to community contributions. He says, according to Learner, teens need opportunities that nurture positive interactions with adults, develop life skills, which are skills that will help them deal with the challenges of everyday life, and give them the chance to show leadership. For parents, contact is critical, very important. Although teens are starting to pull away, parents need to stay connected. One way is to participate in out-of-school activities. For example, kids and parents could volunteer to take care of a park or build a playground. But parents don't have to work on long-term projects to have an effect. Just spending time with teens can help. For example, one of the strongest predictions of positive youth development was that a family ate dinner together on a regular basis. It is also important for parents to give teens time and space to explore their own interests and passions. All these recommendations are consistent with the advice of psychologist Lawrence Steinberg of Temple University. According to Steinberg, author of the 10 Basic Principles of Good Parenting, parents should be involved in their children's lives and give them plenty of love. In his book, Steinberg says that good parenting encourages elements like honesty, empathy, self-reliance, kindness, cooperation, self-control, and cheerfulness. Sounds a lot like the 5 C's. Steinberg recognizes that for some people, good parenting is innate, but all parents can improve their skills through practice. The message for parents is a good one. Your teenagers will not necessarily suffer, and neither will you. Their connections to both friends and family will help them succeed during this period, but letting them thrive or letting them have the one thing they really want, which is some independence. So by letting the adolescents have some independence, this may actually help by giving them a sense of competence and control. During these years, parents need to find a balance between staying connected and letting go. This may be the best rule a parent can make. Now moving on to activity B, vocabulary. Complete the sentences with the vocabulary from reading 1. 1. For our research project, my colleague and I looked at the reasons that some teenagers do well in school. 2. We decided to conduct a second experiment, and we were pleased to see that the new results were consistent with the previous ones. 3. Theoretically, getting a college degree should help you get a good job. 4. I'll need more information in order to accurately answer the question. 5. His extracurricular activities include the school soccer team and the debate club. 6. You should carefully review the information in the guide before you select your classes for the term. 7. University classrooms are equipped with a lot of technology to enhance students' learning opportunities. 8. The director said she was impressed with the competence Fahad showed in his role as student council president. 9. Good parents will nurture their children's dreams and help them realize their goals. 10. It is easy to make a judgment about someone based on a false assumption. 11. Even writers with innate talent need formal training too. 12. We often think of the years between childhood and adulthood as a difficult period. Moving on to activity D. Answer these questions. Question 1. What assumption about adolescence does the researcher examine? The assumption is that adolescence is a difficult period, including making poor decisions, hanging out with the wrong friends, taking risks, refusing to follow rules, not talking to parents. 2. What are the 5 C's? The 5 C's are competence, confidence, connection, character, and caring. Question 3. In what way is Eliza like other successful teens? The answer is that she has the 5 C's. 4. According to Dr. Lerner, what do teens need to develop the 5 C's? Teens need opportunities that nurture positive interactions with adults, develop life skills, and give them a chance to show leadership. 5. According to Dr. Steinberg, what does good parenting encourage? Good parenting nurtures qualities like honesty, empathy, self-reliance, kindness, cooperation, self-control, and cheerfulness. Moving on to activity E. Circle the correct answer. 1. What is the purpose of the first paragraph? The answer is A. It gives an example of the topic of the article. 2. What is the main idea of paragraph 2? The answer is C. People think that adolescents have lots of problems, but they don't. 3. The Forest study of positive youth development looked at what? The answer is B. Activities that successful teens are involved in. 4. The purpose of paragraph 4 is to show A. How Eliza's experiences and skills compare with the 5 C's. 5. How does being resilient help teens? The answer is B. It helps them succeed in spite of problems. 6. According to the article, the answer is statement A. Teens need to do things with supportive adults. 7. The author probably included paragraph 8. For what reason? The answer is B. To support his view by using another expert's idea. And 8. The audience for this reading is probably, the answer is C, parents. Moving on to activity F, true or false, and correct each false statement. 1. Eliza Parks has a good relationship with her parents, which is mentioned in paragraph 1, 10, and 11. True. 2. Many people assume that teens will make poor decisions, mentioned paragraph 2, which is true. 3. Lawrence Steinberg conducted the Forest study, mentioned in paragraph 3, and it is false, not Lawrence, it's Dr. Richard Lerner. Dr. Richard Lerner. 4. The 4H study says that teens with the 5 C's are more likely to help in their communities, which is from paragraph 3, and the answer is true. 5. Eating dinner as a family is important to positive youth development, from paragraph 7, which is also true. 6. Steinberg thinks that parents can become better through practice, from paragraph 7, which is true. 7. Parents should try to control their children during adolescence, which is from paragraph 8, and it is false. Parents should try to control their children during adolescence. The right answer is that parents should let teens have some independence, and it's from paragraph 9, not 8, 9. Moving on, reading skill, making inferences. Now, what do we mean by making inferences? Writers don't usually state all their ideas directly. Usually they expect the reader to infer some ideas that the information suggests. Making inferences about the text means that you use your knowledge to make a logical conclusion about the information that is given. Look at this excerpt from reading 1. For example, the 4H study has found that teens from any background can thrive. It doesn't matter if they are rich or poor, etc. Now, in order to make these claims, the researcher had to do the right kind of research, so you can infer that they chose to research teens from many backgrounds. They also looked at the kind of help those teens received in order to be successful. So making inferences helps you improve your comprehension and understand the text more deeply. Now in activity A, after reading the following paragraph, what statements you can infer from this paragraph? To check the right statements, now after the reading, we move rightly to the answer. We can infer 1. Eliza likes schoolwork. 3. Eliza speaks well in public. 6. Eliza is a very busy person. 7. Eliza enjoys spending time with her parents. And 10. Eliza is a confident person. In activity B, read the paragraph, circle the answers to each question. You may circle A, B, or both. Then compare your answer with a partner. So, skipping the paragraph, we'll move on directly to the question. Question 1. What can you infer about the writer? From reading the paragraph, you can infer A, the writer is an adult. And what led you to this answer? Is when he said, when I was a young child. 2. What can you infer about the writer's family? The answer is B. The writer was the youngest child. 3. What can you infer about the writer's problem? The answer is both, A and B. The writer still struggles to get out of bed, and it was easier to get out of bed as a child than as a teenager. 4. What can you infer about the writer's father? The answer is A. He used to get up early. And 5. What can you infer from the writer's response to the father? The answer is A. The writer has a good sense of humor. Moving on to reading 2. Life lessons I learned from my dad in 23 years. Now, after reviewing the reading the title and the subheadings, let's answer the following questions. What are the life lessons that Mrs. Herkey will discuss in her blog? Write at least 3 predictions. Answers may include be kind, work hard, family is important, exercise, eat healthy food. The second question, do your predictions match any of the subheadings? It depends on your answer for question 1. The new vocabulary in this reading, we will move on to the definitions after the reading, are attribute, encounter, hesitation, interaction, intervention, petrified, pitching, refrain, tragic, void, work ethic, and wounded. Moving on to the reading section. Life lessons I learned from my dad in 23 years. I lost my dad when I was 23 years old. I was days away from completing my first year of graduate school. It was tragic and unexpected, as tragedies generally are. And I remember drifting through the days, wondering if I would ever feel whole again. I would be years before I realized that he left me with everything I needed. Time heals and the best memories come to light as the sadness fades away. 16 years later, I think back on the wisdom he imparted over the years and realize that he took the time he had with me to prepare me for almost anything, and his words are forever etched across my soul. So the first lesson was, family consists of the relationships you choose to nurture. Life is hard and families can be complicated. My dad's story isn't mine to tell, but his family changed over time. As an adolescent, I questioned him about these changes. Did he miss the people he no longer saw? The answer was simple. This is my family. Your family is made up of the people you love and the people who love you back. That's all you need. 2. Kindness counts. When people recall their memories of my dad, they often refer to him as friendly, kind, and generous. They talk about long boat rides and the fact that he was always willing to pitch in and lend a hand. I know he secretly lived in fear that I would bring home every wounded bird I encountered. I was always trying to help. As much as some might say that can be attributed to personality, I like to think that some of it came from my parents. They taught me to be kind and help out when I can, and I teach my children the same. Moving on to the next page. The third lesson is bravery happens when you are ready to be brave. I was petrified of my dad's boat when I was young. It was loud and stinky and made a horrible cracking sound each time he took it away, or each time he took a wave on the water. My brother loved it. I cried every time they strapped the life jacket on me. For 4 years, I never even made it out of the lagoon. I knew his boat was important to him. Kids know things, and I wanted to love that boat just as much as everyone else. So, at the end of my 4th summer, I made an announcement. When I am 5, I'll be brave. For that entire winter following my 5th birthday, I bravely chanted that refrain, what she said before. And when the boat showed up in the garage that spring, the anxiety set in. Sensing my hesitation, my dad leaned down and whispered, "You don't have to be brave this year. You can be brave when you are ready." I never forgot that interaction. When I stepped off the dock and into the boat that summer, I stood all and smiled, and I loved every second of it. Hard work will get you everywhere. I was always the kind of student who wanted to get straight A's and cried when a B plus showed up on my report, so I never needed any intervention. When it came to school, but my dad noticed my hard work, he frequently complimented my writing and my focus, and reminded me that my work ethic would help me reach my goals. All of them, as it turns out, he was right. 5. It's okay to walk away sometimes. There was one summer when my dad was reading the most boring book of all time. It just sat on the coffee table for days at a time. Occasionally he would pick it up and read a few pages, only to return to the newspaper. I finally asked him about it. Sometimes things aren't what they seem, Katie. It's important to know when to walk away. I am walk away from this one. I am not a quitter by nature, but I have walked away from a couple of things that weren't as they seemed. And I've never once regretted a decision to leave something behind. If you can count your friends on 2 hands, you are good. Adolescence was torture at times. I never knew where I fit in. My best friend went off to boarding school, and I couldn't quite fill the void. I was sobbing over my outcast status when my dad presented me with this little nugget of wisdom. One night I didn't believe him at the time, but I've seen the light. I can count my friends on 2 hands. 7. Every sunset has meaning. My dad loved the sunset. He was most at peace with himself at our house by the beach, and he never missed a sunset during the summer months. It was the summer before his death that I asked him what he loved about sunset. This is what he said: if you've had a rotten day, a sunset reminds you that another day is ahead. If you've had a great day, a sunset reminds you to soak it in. Either way, it's a win. Life is short, make it count. 52 years doesn't seem like enough, and yet that's what he had. I believe that my dad did the best that he could with the time he had. If nothing else, he always encouraged me to just be me. At the end of the line, you only have who you are. Be the best version of you. People will respect you. Now moving on to activity B. We'll skip the example sentences and move right away to the definitions. So, as you can see, A, attribute, which is to say something is the result of a particular thing. B, petrified, extremely frightened. C, hesitation, act of being slow to speak or act because you feel uncertain or nervous. D, intervention, action taken to improve or help a situation. E, pitch in, to join in and help with an activity by doing some of the work. F, work ethic, a belief in work as a moral good. G, void, a large empty space. H, encounter, to meet or run into. I, tragic, making you feel very sad, usually because someone has died. J, interaction, act of communicating with something or with someone. K, refrain, it's a comment or statement that is often repeated. And L, wounded, injured as in an accident. Moving on to activity D. Now each of these statements gives a main idea of a lesson that Mrs. Hartley learned from her dad. Write the correct lesson number, the number of the lesson, next to each statement. 1. Enjoying nature is a good way to end each day, which is lesson 7. 2. When the time is right, you can be brave, lesson number 3. 3. If something isn't right, it's okay to quit, lesson number 5. 4. Be kind and help others, which is lesson number 2. 5. Be true to yourself, lesson number 8. 6. Working hard is important, lesson number 4. 7. Your family is the people you care about, lesson number 1. And finally, 8. A few good friends are enough, lesson number 6. Moving on to activity E. Answer the questions about Mrs. Hartley and her father. Question 1. How old was she when her father died? The answer is 23 years old. 2. What was she doing when her father died? Just completing her first year of graduate school. 3. How much time has passed since her father died? 16 years. 4. What has her father missed in her life? He missed her wedding, his grandchildren, her adult firsts, like buying a first car or buying a first house. 5. How old was her father when she died? He was 52. 6. What time of day did her father like best? Sunset. 7. Why did her father quit reading the book? Because it wasn't interesting. Sometimes things aren't what they seem, so it's important to know when to walk away. 8. How do other people remember her father? The answer is they remember him as friendly, kind, and generous, and that he was always willing to help others. Moving on to activity F. Check the statements you can infer about Mrs. Herkley and her father based on the blog. As you can see, what we can infer about Mrs. Herkley: she is successful, she misses her father, she learned a lot from her father, she is brave. And what can we infer about her father is he was friendly, he liked the water, he was a good father. Moving on to the vocabulary skill, prefixes and suffixes. A prefix is a group of letters that comes at the beginning of a word. A prefix is a group of letters that comes at the beginning of a word. When you add a prefix to a word, it usually changes the word's meaning. Study the chart of prefixes from reading 1 and 2. Examples: here, anti and against. For example, an example is or anti-war. Anti means against, like in anti-war, against war. As you can see, the second example is cooperation. We added the prefix co, which means together. Then we have extracurricular. The prefix is extra, which means more. Independence. The prefix is in, which means not, negates the word. Interact. The prefix is inter, which means go between. Mid-50s. Mid, which means middle. Misunderstanding. Miss, which means incorrect or badly. Reread. Reread, the prefix is re, which means again, or to read again. Now, a suffix is a group of letters that comes at the end of a word. When you add a suffix to a word, it usually changes not only the meaning, but also the part of speech of that word. For example, adding the suffix shin, T-I-O-N, to the verb inform makes it the noun information. Study this chart of suffixes. We have competence and significance, ins or ants, suffixes that form nouns, suffixes that form adjectives. For example, we have int, ant, and full, like consistent, important, resentful, and successful. Suffixes that form verbs are ate or eyes, like exaggerate, motivate, organize, and realize. Moving on to activity A. Complete the word in each sentence with the correct prefix from the vocabulary skill box, the one we read, then check your answer in the dictionary. Now, 1. He mispronounced the word so she didn't understand what he had said. 2. They were both extraordinary students. They excelled at school and were talented in sports and poetry as well. 3. Many parts of the brain are interconnected. They work together to enable the brain's many functions. 4. His job required that he relocate often, so he had lived in many places. 5. Fatima knew she wasn't ready for midterm exams, but she hoped she'd do better on the final. 6. People assumed all was antisocial because Ali was antisocial because he rarely spoke with other children. 7. Some siblings have to learn to coexist peacefully together. 8. We're going to have an informal gathering tonight. Come by if you can. And in the last activity, activity B, read each word and check the correct part of speech. Use information from the vocabulary skill on page 71. So determine from the suffix if the part of speech of the word is a noun, an adjective, or a verb. So, starting, recognize, verb, reliance, noun, peaceful, adjective, demonstrate, verb, resilient, adjective, contribution, noun, confidence, noun, significant, adjective, substance, noun, navigate, verb, contribution, noun, and cheerful, adjective. Okay, that's it everyone. Thank you for listening and good luck.